And here you're getting to be an old hand at this, you know. But
glad to be here.
I really think you guys ought to start thinking about doing a regular series over here if you can. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think it'd be a good idea. It's an important issue. Good to see you, Les, always.
Thank you.
Yeah. Give my best to Frank.
Thank you.
Okay. And welcome very much to Conversation. It's a pleasure to welcome to the program two gentlemen that are involved, one of which has been a guest on my program often and we're in steady touch with, and that is on my immediate left, Les Jamieson. And he's an organizer here of an initiative, or getting attention about an initiative involved with the 9/11 Truth movement. He's been involved in that movement from its inception almost, I think, and is a stalwart carrier of that mission. And Les, once again, it's always great to see you.
It's a great pleasure to be here, Harold.
And I wonder, and Harvey Goodman is a... Newman, I'm sorry. Now, Harvey Newman is a organizer as well. He's got many other hats he wears and so forth. And Harvey, welcome very much to MNN.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
We've talked with Jeff Les in the past, but could you share just a little bit of your background in a brief kind of way? Born, raised, educated, concerns, and then we'll come to Les, and then we'll get into the sub and substance.
Native New Yorker. I was born in Washington Heights in 1942. Run forward, I guess, for you know, the last 21 years until 2004. I was working for a market research firm, and after I retired, I was looking for something to do with the rest of my life.
Come on home to MNN, young man. Yes, yes.
And I don't know, the way I put it, God put on my plate this fantastic opportunity to make a difference in the world.
It is something that's evolving that's very important for a democracy if we're going to ever have a real functioning democracy.
Absolutely.
And thank you for all that and the work you know, you're doing in terms of helping Les and the others on this. And Les, share your background real briefly, and then we want to get on to the sub and substance. You're a musician, among other things.
Exactly, yes. I spent most of my life as a professional musician, playing guitar and singing and all kinds of great social functions around the country and a little bit overseas, and that was my hope to just be a creative person my whole life. And
like Phil Oakes, or no, or like
more like maybe George Benson and Carlos Santana and Wes Montgomery, you know, those kind of mixes there.
I see.
Jazz and rock and funk and those mixes.
Do you still get out and gig at all anymore? Or are you
Not
too
for
busy?
a long time. Not for a long time. No, it's been tough. Well, then the next phase became overcoming of the music, in that the inception of the high-tech age changes everything. And I took an interest in computers, and I do graphic design and web design as well. And I've always been very political, coming up in the 60s during the Vietnam era, and civil rights era, and as of 9/11, you know, everything even became amplified in terms of political awareness. So I've been involved very much so in the research and activism and organizing aspect of the issues around 9/11, and which brings us to this topic.
I was going to say a perfect segue to the thing that we're doing here, because you've been involved with Frank Morales and others down at St. Mark's Church, where they've had this series of meetings, 9/11 Truth meetings, that are, I'm here to say, having been at a number of them, it's an inspirational vibe that you have down there with a lot of very committed people. Maybe you could share that with some of the audience that might not be aware.
Well, that sounds great. Thanks, Harold. We have a series there called the 9/11 Info Resource Series at St. Mark's Church in the East Village, 2nd Avenue and 10th Street. And we're there on Sunday evenings, usually 6:30, where we show documentaries and have great presenters and researchers, authors, filmmakers, basically educate the public on alternative research on 9/11 and what really occurred that day. And it's very important to look at this, because in terms of what we've been seeing, you know, shown through the media, has been very much filtered, very much narrowly defined as the government's official story. But right after, in the days after the events of 9/11, there were some very intrepid researchers, very committed, experienced researchers pointing out anomalies, questions, problems with the official story, which maybe later I'll go into a few of those, which is why at this point, almost, well, a little over 6.5 years after, we have come to the conclusion that be a true independent investigation of what happened for many reasons, because the events of 9/11 has colored everything that goes on within our political and social and economic and military reality here.
The whole foreign policy thing?
Our whole foreign policy. We're in 2 invasions and a new impending invasion in Iran.
Don't say that even, but I know I saw Mr. Lieberman the other day, very off-putting.
They're pushing for it.
It's unbelievable for him to make a statement like that.
Right, they're pushing. So everything, our economics again, our social, foreign policy, every domestic issue, from health care to affordable housing to jobs creation to energy, all these are directly impacted by what we experienced on 9/11. And the official investigation, the Keene-Hamilton-Zelikow Commission, it's, I think, widely recognized that that was a very faulty commission. It was basically the government investigating itself. It was insiders placed there to exonerate and the government and to echo its official story.
Mr. Zelikow Prince is interesting, particularly. I guess he was the one who really did the legwork and put it together. And if I'm not mistaken, Joe Friendly, one of our producers here, revealed to me that his official title was Maker of Myths. That was his professional work, and that's what he did, create myths.
Right, he has a background and expertise in how myths in culture are created and perpetuated. I guess it's part of behavioral conditioning.
Right. It is an important kind of, I guess, understanding, because so much is done now, particularly now in a multimedia world. Right? So, the myths and the spinning and that sort of thing is really important, using certain words and being able to manipulate. We had Vance Packard, he wrote a book called The Hidden Persuaders, about how well the advertising industry can create and utilize understanding with psychology to influence public opinion. So it's important, but it is a little bit unsettling to have an official report being husbanded or brought into being by somebody whose profession is create myths. It could be false myths. If you want, that kind of thing. And I think a lot of people within the 9/11 Truth meeting movement have an idea that the story that would be presented in the official report is lacking in a very serious kind of way.
Oh, yes.
And if you believe the Hamilton report, what would you believe?
If you believe,
what would they ask us to believe about what happened on 9/11 2001?
It amounts to the government, basically our military, our multi-trillion-dollar military industrial intelligence establishment had it all wrong. They were totally surprised that day, and some skinny Arabs with box cutters who could barely fly shattered our whole defense apparatus, and that our Pentagon, which is probably the most heavily guarded airspace in the world, was attacked by an unarmed plane. So these are the kind of things. And it's important to know, Harold, that the 9/11 families, the victims' families, have compiled as many as 400 questions. 250 of them were never addressed.
Never addressed at all in the report? In
the report, yes. And they pressed the commissioners very hard on this, and the commissioners would not comply. They would not acquiesce to this questioning. I'll give you another example. At one point there was a vacancy on the commission. Max Cleland, the former senator from Georgia, patriotic guy, Vietnam vet. He lost 3 limbs in Vietnam, and he was removed from the commission because he objected to some things, and he made a statement saying that he felt the American people were being scammed.
Scammed? He used that term?
He used that term.
A senator of the United States talking about the Americans being scammed?
That the 9/11 Commission and the government were scamming the American people regarding 9/11. So he was removed, so there was a vacancy. The 9/11 families wanted one of the Jersey widows, they're called Kristen Breitweiser, to fill that vacancy. The families wanted her, and it was just logical that the family member should be on that commission. Well, guess what? No going. The government would not allow her to fill that vacancy. Instead, they put in another government insider, Bob Kerrey, who's head of the New School.
Yeah.
So I could go on, I'm sure Harvey could
Also,
as well.
let's not forget a very important thing to show how the 9/11 Commission started out. Bush did not want it in the first place.
That's right.
And then when he finally agreed to it, who was going to be the first?
Mr. Kissinger?
Yes.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
Yeah?
And I went ballistic when I
did,
heard
yeah?
that. Oh, yeah. And I guess the whole nation did because he was dropped and we got
Right.
somebody who seemed a little bit less controversial.
Now, who was the one who was less controversy?
Kane.
Kane.
Thomas Kane.
I see. That's who he was going to. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And so that, that kind of watered it down. But if you look at the way they did it, for me, one of the things that was really disturbing was the idea of them saying that they were going that they were not going to have any teeth in this, that they were not going to have any accountability.
To blame it.
It wasn't about blaming anybody. Instead, the people who were responsible for this actually got rewarded and promoted.
Yeah. Well, I remember well, and you do less. You probably do the Vietnam thing, and we had, I don't know, there were 4 million people who Southeast Asians who ended up being dead in that incursion, and you can't blame it all upon us, but we were the ones who really set it up. And Mr. McNamara, 30 years out or something, said it was a mistake. And as I recall, nobody on the American side, the winning side of the power balance of things and everything, no one ever went in the dock for that, which is something kind of interesting. Or no accountability really for that. Well, we just made a mistake. Or some people think if we'd only done maybe tactical nuclear weapons, we could have prevailed or something, but...
So we as Americans have to ask ourselves, and as New Yorkers have to ask ourselves, is this kind of behavior from government acceptable, with extreme secrecy, with...
you mean putting together the commission report was done under secret conditions?
Well, the government has been highly secretive, not only on the issues of 9/11, but the energy policy, and many more things. So we have to ask ourselves, are we going to allow this? And I urge everybody to say, no, we cannot. We must demand accountability, truth, and transparency from our government, which is why we're pushing for what's called the 9/11 ballot initiative. I'd just like to give some detail on this.
Okay, go ahead.
So what this is, in California, they do this all the time, these public referendums, ballot initiatives. Well, we can do it here in New York as well. For the November 6th election, this is what we're aiming for. It's a small general election, I guess some judges, maybe a city council member or two. And what we want to do is put on the ballot an option for New York voters to elect for a new independent investigation of 9/11.
That's very interesting.
And this will include, by the way, two major points. It'll be an independent investigation with a set of commissioners that I'll list for you, Harold. And it will also include the issue of the air quality and the lies that were told to New Yorkers about the safety of the air and water, which was given by the EPA and the Commissioner Chrissy Todd Whitman at the time. And we've already had probably over 100 deaths and thousands of people whose health has been completely ruined, and financial situation ruined as well.
1 minute, let me intervene for a second, okay? The official, what is it, Keene-Hamilton report, how were the people who made up that commission chosen? And what kind of who would be the deciders? I'm the decider. Who would be the deciders about who would make up the commission that your initiative wants to see established?
Yeah.
I mean, would there be any involvement by the people who set up the
No. Here's I can answer like this. The government was the one, the Bush administration appointed Philip Zelikow, who was a Bush insider, and of course his background as a myth maker, and also a participant, a co-writer in a report on extreme counterterrorism and global terrorism.
Right.
So he was very much in the flow of this whole global war on terror a couple years before 9/11. Now, he and the Bush administration appointed Keene and Hamilton and the rest of that commission.
The Bush
now, for this commission, Harold, what is going to happen is that we, us as organizers, Harvey, myself, and another team of steering committee people here, heavily assisted by an international attorney by the name of William Pepper, who will also be on the commission.
Wow.
We have been working hard to choose this body of commissioners, and here's who we have so far.
Okay, it reminds me a little bit, if I may, Ralph Shulman was secretary to Bertrand Russell,
right?
And Bertrand Russell did bring up a war crimes tribunal thing that was not involved within the government, but it was done by other people, and it's that along that line that you're talking. You're not talking about. Okay.
No, this will be a little different.
Just to get it straight, yeah.
This will be a little different.
It'd be a people's tribunal.
This will be on the ballot. So when if New Yorkers vote in favor of this,
yes.
Then it will actually become part of the New York City statute, New York City charter. So this will be official New York City government, not symbolic or people's tribunal. This will have subpoena power. So this will be, with legal legitimacy.
Is this a petition to the city council to call such a thing, or what is the connection back to the people that are in positions of ongoing responsibility for the system?
I'll set up the actual particulars here. In order to get this on the ballot, it requires 30,000 petition signatures from New Yorkers, registered voters, and
in the city of New York, the whole city.
Yeah, five boroughs.
Five boroughs. Okay, we'll need 30,000 initially. Then it goes to the Board of Elections, which they present to City Council. City Council can either support it, it's accepted, or they can reject it. And if they reject it, then we have the option to go back for another 15,000 signatures, which would then override their rejection.
And what, if they accepting, is that a majority acceptance, or what is the terms by which the City Council would accept the idea?
Majority.
It is a majority,
I would assume, yes.
Okay.
Majority.
Have I not, and let me, bear with me, right, because I'm not that familiar, you're really familiar with it and everything, but you've got, so they've had Zogby polls of people in New York.
Right.
And we've got this 6-year period of this commission report out there for people to study. They ask us to accept it, and there's a lot of questions come up. A lot of people question about what really happened, that kind of thing.
Sure.
But you've got that sort of a thing. So where does it go? But they've had these surveys.
Okay, there's a Zogby poll.
60% or something of the people in New York City, if I'm not mistaken, or in New York, are in favor of reopening the commission report.
66% of New Yorkers would favor a new investigation.
Okay, now you could be favoring...
36% feel that the Keene-Hamilton Commission did not answer the important questions.
36%.
And that was 4 years ago.
That was 4 years ago?
I'm sorry, 3 years ago. That was August of '04.
Okay, good. And that's a good, well done. Zogby's good. Zogby's usually pretty close and so on. And do you have any way of gauging, because you're involved in it, the trends therein of it? I think probably with the debacle of things in Iraq and so forth, they might have grown, the number of people.
Sure.
But the thing being is that there are citizens who are in favor of reopening.
Correct.
If you put it that way, that means the people who made it up. Who are the people who made it up again? The commission report.
Keene Hamilton.
Keene Hamilton would reconvene their committee, and the president would select the people that are on it.
No.
Or what?
No. This is an independent. That's government.
But the
appointed.
way that Zogby poll thing was worded.
Ours is going to be an independent investigation.
That's different than the poll that Zogby's saying.
No.
Zogby's saying they want to reopen the Hamilton-Keene report.
No, they're not.
I want to get it straight. Do you understand?
Yeah. No, the Zogby poll.
Because there's a difference.
The Zogby poll is not referring to reopening the Keene-Hamilton.
How was the word?
It's just saying there needs to be a new investigation.
A new investigation.
Exactly. It's not referring at all whatsoever. If anything, the Keene-Hamilton investigation has been so discredited thoroughly. Even in their own book called Without Precedent that came out last summer, they've referred to gaping holes and errors in their report and being lied to by NORAD and so on and so forth.
I'm trying to job.
Yeah, but I'm trying to get at this figure because I put it on my website where I've seen it. It's always says that. I'm trying to get at the basis of what was the thing that they were signing onto, because it'd be a different thing if you're going to reopen it with official participation.
As already established, why would anybody want the same fraudulent government appointment?
For one thing, you're talking to yourself. You're talking to your choir, if I may, because you've got people there. I know, I've seen, Jones and Alex Jones and all that. There are people who are convinced that let me just go a little bit here, okay, and set me straight. There are people who think that that was a thing that was hatched by the neocons, and there was involvement by the government, and they've got signs that say it was an inside job. They got this kind of a view of it. There are a lot of citizens who would have a little hard time accepting that major premise that people are in the 9/11 truth movement. You understand? But among the broad general citizenry who might make up that 66%, they would like to have another investigation, but without any predisposition or any sense of anybody being guilty, just to get at the idea of bringing it out with an official kind of makeup.
That's exactly what this is being proposed as a complete, impartial, fresh, new but independent investigation.
Independent but involving, is it something that
let me tell you some of the people.
Presidential
let me tell you some of the people who are on this commission, just to illustrate that. This
Abby
would
Hoffman.
That this would be a very neutrally investigation. Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the Apollo 14 astronaut. Okay, there you go. Republican Senator Lincoln Chafee.
He's been voted out now.
And a Roman Catholic bishop named Thomas Gumbleton. Activist Ed Asner. And we have Dr. William Pepper, an international attorney, and then we do have Ralph Shulman. He was former executive director of the Bertrand Russell Commission.
Yeah, he was secretary to Bertrand Russell.
Yes, exactly. And also we have a Mohawk tribal member who's an author activist by the name of Splitting the Sky.
There's a poetic there's a poetic quality. Splitting the Sky will be there.
And Dr. Jawea.
And having some indigenous.
Dr. Jawea.
That's his name.
Dr. Jawea.
Yes.
Dr. Jawea is an old friend of mine.
He's
he was at Attica.
Wow. When he was at Attica, that's the man.
Yeah, he was at Attica. Say hello. I want to be in touch with Dr. Jawea and Ghana Redio.
He's up in Canada right now.
And his brother.
It's so important to have.
And including the indigenous spirit
and
the
Native American perspective of investigating 9/11, because who knows empire better than the indigenous people?
Yeah, but that's got a quality of a certain kind of quality that I'm not sure. Now, if you have that, you got Ralph Shulman and you got Dr. Jawea. Dr. Jawea is great. Ghana Redio, his brother, Goodleaf or something. They're great.
Yeah.
I know his other brother,
So this will give you an indication of the type of people. And we have a few others that we're talking to be on this commission. So these are not like your rabid, anti-government conspiracy theorist types.
No, but they're pretty. Some of those names are.
A few.
Some of those names. Dr. Jawea was pretty serious.
Well, okay.
And Ralph Shulman isn't exactly a passing daisy or something.
Right.
He's pretty committed.
But the point is, it's not all. But what I was getting anti-government types.
Forgive me, right? And I'm all for it. I think we ought to get the initiative out. We got 30,000 people. Anything that is going to do it, I'm all for. You understand? But what I'm trying to say is, like, if you're reopening the commission without, and most of those, a lot of those people, or the people from the 9/11 Truth Movement, of which I'm part in a way, but I would just like to see the thing open. And to where you have will there be a thing where, let's say we're coming into presidential town, some of the presidential candidates could sign on to the idea, because it taps into, but when you start opening upon a thing that there was a conspiracy of our government to do this, that's getting into territory that a lot of Joe Q citizen doesn't want to go. You understand? So if you got to preach that, but if you're just saying, let's investigate. There were some things that weren't covered and everything kind of thing. You might get presidential candidates to be able to say, Obama, or somebody could sign on to that it would be good to put this away and put it behind us. But if you're coming in with a predisposition to blame or something, do you understand the difference? That's what I wanted to get straight.
This does not include any predisposition whatsoever. A true investigation looks at all scenarios. And
how
if
wide
there was,
could you cast
Harold,
that net is
Harold,
what I'm saying,
Harold,
people who would
Harold,
be for it.
if there was any predisposition, it was the official government report, which was predisposed to blame Al-Qaeda and 19 Arab hijackers and Bin Laden when they had Bin Laden's face on TV within I heard 15 minutes after the attacks. Right. And within 24 hours they had these 19 Arabs faces all over TV. How could that happen? How could, when it takes probably weeks to verify identities? And then Robert Mueller, head of the FBI, was forced to, twice on CNN in the weeks afterwards, admit that we had no real documented verification of those identities. I could go on for this. I to prove that that was a predisposed investigation.
Now you have this feeling, and you do, and I do to a degree and everything, but the thing is, I think among a lot of the general citizens, there'd be a lot of people who would be opening to say, okay, let's just go, we should revisit it because there's more we should know. And what I'm saying is, how wide could you spread that net of people interested in opening it up once again and taking a look at it, where there could be people that are well placed within the society, that are not just, you know what I'm saying?
My experience in market research suggests that in polling, it's difficult to get a real grasp of what's on a person's mind.
Right.
They answer a yes or no question, and this is what we're left with. This is in fact a kind of exercise in finding out what it is that will appeal to people. We are trying to get this petition framed in such a way that people will say, this makes sense. This is something that's been bothering me, and let's see if this works. We don't know what the truth is, and we never claimed that we did. We just feel, for many, many reasons, that what the government has been calling the truth just is not it. And then we have on top of that, and people are being constantly bombarded with the lies that have come out of this administration prior to 9/11 and now since 9/11.
Yeah, I'll bet if you spread it out a little wider, you'd get higher percentages than the Zogby thing did, and there should be questioning of that by people, because it's in the air, isn't there?
It's very much.
That there's a lot of unanswered questions, and you sort of leave it open to what the investigation would reveal. You don't set, if you're going into court, you don't set the jury, you don't set the decision before you go into the unbiased kind of, and you get a lot more Americans and probably world citizens who would be able to or sign on to that than you would to one going in with all kinds of preconceived ideas of what actually happened.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
I think absolutely, Harold, and I think all New Yorkers have to consider is that given the reality of the way the 9/11 Commission was structured, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that it took 14 months before they even authorized this, the fact that they've been widely discredited.
Didn't want to do it.
That they didn't want to do it. Well, the fact that there's still hundreds of questions left over that were never addressed. The fact that even when George Tenet came out with his book a couple weeks ago, and filled with information about how the system was blinking red that summer, and he had briefed Condoleezza Rice on July the 10th of the numerous threats that they had been reading, and then a week later Donald Rumsfeld and John Ashcroft received the same briefing, and then August 6th PDB, the presidential daily briefing that went to George Bush. The title was Bin Laden Determined to Strike Within the U.S., and then he replies back to the CIA briefer, okay, now you've covered your ass. And so this does not add up to incompetence. This adds up to, if anything, obstruction and proof that there was culpability and complicity
within the United States government.
Exactly.
Now that's a very heavy-duty thing. I remember I saw David Griffith.
Well, history supports it.
Impeccable credentials.
Theologian. History supports this.
Yeah. And I remember I was down there. I saw him. He gave that talk and everything. In New Pearl Harbor, he's talking about everything. And I went right home and got down William Shire's Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. And I'll be damned. I mean, it seems, I still am not sure. That's the trouble. everything is sort of, you can't be absolutely sure of many things and everything like that, but it was the Nazis were involved in burning the Reichstag.
Right.
And it was so eerily, and they got into power in 33, and by 37 they had 97%. They rode that thing, and a lot of the things they put in to usher in that out-and-out fascism and so forth sounded awfully like what those neocon people were trying to do. And I know Mr. Wolfowitz was talking about invading Iraq back in the 70s.
That's right.
They were part of a lunatic fringe.
That's right.
So you may have had that kind of thing. But these are all things you can think about.
Yes.
But I'm just trying to think about how can you get the greatest, widest support to open up, and how wide can you include people, and could we get to presidential candidates who would approve of the idea of opening, because it's a very definitive issue in terms of questioning the system. And that sort of thing. You understand what I'm saying? Do you think Barack Obama or any of the presidential candidates could come out in favor of having an opening of a reasonable of the thing and that kind of thing, or is that reaching too far?
Well, I think the people.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the people and this initiative could be the thing that would spur that. Would get these candidates to possibly say, "I want to get on this bandwagon." I think the people are going to drive. I think the people can potentially drive the elected officials in this case, instead of the opposite. The way
and they can ride. They can ride. What's Mr. Bush down to about 25% or something like that on the parade? You know, they could get ahead of the parade. You know, that kind of thing. And that's what I'm trying to think.
I can tell you two candidates that would probably love to
well, Mr.
be supported.
Might, I would think, and I bet Gravel.
And Ron Paul.
Ron Paul
would definitely be supportive. But we'll be happy. We'll be very happy for the city council members of New York to understand the pulse of New Yorkers here and in the absolute necessity for a reinvestigation and the opportunity that every city council member has here to get on the right side of history, to promote this idea of a new New York City-based investigation, in which basically this would empower New York City voters. So this would be a bottom-up process where the voters of New York City would instigate this, but through their positive vote. So I just want to, again, go through the process for people to understand. We need 30,000 petition signatures. I'm going to give you our website and hotline. If you go to,
we're going to put it at the end for sure, but go ahead.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Everybody, here's our website, which is www.nyc911initiative.org. Okay. If you go there, you'll be able to get all the latest information and download a petition and then mail it to us. Also,
mail the petition to y'all?
Yes.
You don't mail it to.
No.
Where will you present the petition?
We collect the petitions, then we present it to the Board of Elections after they're all gathered.
Now, fill me in a little on the procedure.
One thing,
go ahead.
we have a phone number as well, in case, because not everybody has the internet.
Right.
So you could also call our hotline at 646-537-1755.
And what's the time frame on this? It has to be.
The time frame is as soon as possible.
No, I know that, but I mean,
we need to have everything wrapped up in terms of all the signatures, and present this to the commission and have. I'm sorry, the city council. We'd like to have it like by early August.
By early August, ready to present to the Board of Elections?
Yes.
By early August for an election to be held in this early September?
Yes, so we're asking people to do this like today.
To le temps, really right away.
Today, absolutely. And then we'll have an opportunity to get this on the November 6th election. And the procedure, by the way, is when you download the petition, or by the way, a third option is you can come to our events at St. Mark's Church on Sunday evening. We'll have them there. Yeah, you'll get to see a great documentary. And the procedure is you have to be a New York City registered voter, and we can register you, by the way, if you're not.
You don't have to be a registered voter to come to the meetings at St. Mark's Church.
Not to be, in order to sign the petition.
Sign the petition.
Of course. And then you have to have a witness. Then, for instance, if you were to sign the petition, then I would witness for you. I have to sign there, or you can have a notary public.
What does the petition say? What do I put my signature to? Do you have the words, the wording of it?
Yeah, we do. It's 4 pages. It's a long one.
A lot of fine print. I got to have my lawyer.
No, you don't have to have your lawyer. We'll have a cover page that I think actually you have a copy of it right there. There's a cover page, and
my lawyer
it's got to be. It's got to see, because it's going to become a city statute.
Right.
It has to have all the formal detail.
Well, that's not a small matter in itself, yeah? So you're going to ask people to sign that, and if you go to your website and download that, you'll get all 4 pages of the fine print?
Exactly, yes.
And everything.
It's a nice overview.
Is it an official, Bloomberg is a form, a legal form, but I mean, is it an official form that is used in these kind of matters? Would they use that kind of form in Chicago or California?
The Board of Elections has certain requirements to
Or did you make
petitions.
it up? Did you do the wording of the petition?
Oh yeah, no,
But according to their guidelines.
We did according to their guidelines and format.
That's the Board of Elections guidelines?
Yes.
For initiative,
for,
right?
For petitions,
You know who could be involved in that is Carl Pearson.
He is.
He would be really good to have involved because
Yes.
he's very, and you know who else would be, Gravel. I know Michael Gravel from the 70s.
Sure,
And
sure.
he had a long thing going, and it was called, you should go, you might visit it just to be,
Yes.
because he had said that his whole thing that he was involved with before he started to become run for president, it was the national initiative. And the whole thing that he had was using the initiative by the citizens to get some democracy.
It's direct democracy, they call it, because it's bottom up, where we as citizens can petition our own government, and this therefore really create representation for our issues.
Now
another way to get that representation that's included here, since you bring up Carl Pearson, we have a package deal here, because in a way to ensure the success of this ballot initiative and the commission and the investigation is to have an attorney in place that will be there to be its legal watchdog, its legal muscle, so to speak. So written into this is an office of New York City Attorney General, not State Attorney General. That's separate.
Carl.
It's Carl to be the New York City Attorney General to help enforce subpoenas, things of that nature, and carry out proceedings in court.
Go ahead.
And then additionally, the New York City Attorney General here, Carl Pearson, would be available to groups of New Yorkers. Say you, for instance, have issues regarding your neighborhood, things in your neighborhood, say rent control issues or traffic issues. Say you're against this congestion tax, or another big group is the taxi drivers of New York City that are very, very disadvantaged because of the point system against your license. Any other causes, if your jobs are being outsourced to, Bangladesh or somewhere.
That's half of New York.
You need an attorney general for your city, for this city, to take civil actions, not criminal, but civil actions on your behalf. And this is another very, very powerful and appealing aspect of what we're proposing.
Now, that's part of what you're proposing.
Yes.
Now, help me out again. You're dealing with the Board of Elections because you want to get an initiative on the ballot. So you have to follow the procedures that are laid down within our state constitution and the system.
Right.
So you have to deal with that. So do they provide you with a form? Is there a legal form of this petition?
No.
And who decides the wording of something that I'm going to sign?
Basically, it was a team of our people put it together with Carl's help.
And anybody, so it would depend on whether I want to sign it. My lawyers tell me I shouldn't sign things without reading it and understanding it. Do you think that's good advice?
Sure.
Okay,
sure, absolutely.
So that would be a thing, you'd read it, and then if you agree with it, can you tell me in general what the outside of the legalities and things that are there, the words are there that you can't put it into a sentence, what I'd be signing if I were to sign that?
Yeah, I think so. We could.
Haiku.
Yeah.
What
we are proposing is creation of a new independent 9/11 investigation, which also will include the health issues of the toxic air quality that affected so many New Yorkers. And the duty of the commission will be to conduct a comprehensive, fact-driven investigation, leading wherever the facts, following wherever the facts may lead.
Ma'am.
And
that's Joe Friday.
And that's it in a nutshell. And one other feature.
I would almost sign that now.
That's it.
Because, and I think a lot of people would if that's what you're proposing.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
That's it.
And so we're here to announce to the citizens of New York that see this program that this is something that's going. Why don't you give that website again?
NYC 9/11 initiative.org.
9/11 No, what is it?
NYC.
NYC.
9/11 Initiative.
9/11 Initiative.
Dot-
INITIATIVE.org.
.org.
Okay, and we'll put it up at the end so people could
exactly.
send
Or you
for
can
it, yeah.
come to St. Mark's Church, 2nd Avenue and 10th Street on a Sunday evening.
6:30
At
usually.
6:30 usually, yeah, exactly. Or you could go to, or call our hotline, 646-537-1755.
And tell your friends,
Yeah, talk-
and
you
tell
talk.
your
We've
friends
been
and
talking.
loved ones about this too. I mean,
Yeah.
this applies to everybody, and it's really a great opportunity for people to take the initiative and have the truth.
We
the
don't.
finances.
There's
We
not
need
enough.
that.
There's not enough. You're not the millionaires, most of you. You know, or how it's done. I don't know. Another some sort of like a Zogby poll of how do New Yorkers feel. That one was taken 4 years ago.
That was 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah, August of
That-
04.
and that was worded. See, it's important how it's worded.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a reinvestigation, or just to get all the facts, or let's hang them by the lamppost? You know, I mean, it's
Well,
different. The language is different in terms of what you sign. You're familiar with that kind of thing.
Sure,
Sure. It's too hard to try and get some sort of a poll going, isn't it?
Basically,
Maybe that's off the case. Off
well,
the chart.
there have
You know,
been more
it's-
recent
I'm
polls.
trying to see a way in which you can outreach to, so you can get at real systemic, but get a lot of citizens who are not so fervently involved in the issue as you or perhaps myself even.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
get the wide citizenry.
Absolutely, absolutely. And do you have any thoughts on getting to the wider spectrum?
Again, I think it's really about us being out on the streets and looking like presentable, not like a bunch of wild
Marshall McLuhan.
people. Yeah, I think the real idea is to present this as a really honest attempt at getting to the truth.
Right. Have a big
And
tent.
maybe it will appeal to people.
Yeah.
We're just hoping it will.
Yeah.
And, and we believe it has an a chance. It really does.
Yeah, there's a concept in politics where you have a very big tent or a big umbrella where a lot of people can get under it, as opposed to as soon as you get more specialized down, then you get to more that kind of thing. So because there's an awful lot of things coming out. Mr. Moore has sicko now. Did you seen that yet? It was great. She was on Amy Goodman this morning. That is such a good thing that systematically targets the whole healthcare system and the absurdity that we don't have a healthcare system worthy of the name in this country. So there's a lot of things. Hamas just took over in Gaza. There's a lot of things that are going to which are making it possible, maybe instead of one little thing here, one little thing there, one little thing, diversion, all that kind of thing, that is beginning to question basically the system itself.
Yes.
And you'd want to do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. And one of the things that we've noticing is that most of the movements outside of what we're doing are very spread out. They're divisive in many ways. They're fragmented.
Well,
and we see ourselves as trying to reach out to them and bring them together on this central point, because from our point of view, it all stems from that moment of 9/11.
well, a lot of people
and everything that followed.
Well,
Patriot Act.
that's what followed in Nazi
going right
Germany.
into Afghanistan, and making people aware that and the other thing that I wanted to
police
say
state
earlier,
things that are being proposed and everything.
Yeah, one of the things that's happened to the American people generally is that they don't have any gut feeling anymore, and I think we have to kind of reestablish that for them. They have to start to have that gut feeling that I think they all must have on some level, and they just don't want to touch it when they get to it.
Well, it's one thing to challenge I mean, I remember talking to people. You got the good people. Ramsey Clark, I think Ramsey Clark, in my view, he should get the Nobel Peace Prize for having questioned so much of the basic system and the injustice. Johnny on the spot whenever there's a mass injustice going and everything like that. But those people at the International Action Center, great people, Sarah Flounders and Brian Becker and all the Gabrielle Gemma. I remember they used to sit on his floor in his office, and then they came back from one thing overseas. We were in Libya. We came back, and she said, "We got a place finally." Okay, Gabrielle, what are you going to do? We're going to question injustice. And you went to the place, and I mean, the thing is, it was really funny. They had a loft, they had a place, and it's the injustice against women, against the Indians, against the thing, and it's just everything. You know, it's just general. You know, it's systemic.
Almost endless.
It's systemic.
It is systemic.
And so if everybody's concentrating on their thing, and they can see that. If you're black, you might think if only racism gets taken care of, everything's going to be. If you're a lady, or a woman, you might think that, or whatever. But what they're doing is it's being questioned systemically now, the whole system, and this is one thing that would lead to that. There's other things developing that would have an effect in the society or in the spirit of the age or something that would be similar to what you might be trying to do coming from other quarters. I'm trying to get at here. There may be something really powerful blowing in the wind.
You have root causes of all these problems, domestic as well as international injustices. We have to look at, if we ever want to, as a civilization, try to find resolution once and for all, and stop being like the Sisyphus, the Greek character rolling the boulder up the hill. You know,
I feel like I've been winding up.
We have to get to the top of the hill, and so that requires that we get to the root cause of all these international and social manifestations of injustice, and so that the root cause, we're saying, can be found by understanding 9/11 and then understanding the historical precedents of 9/11, going all the way back to, well, every U.S. International conflict, and then of course in Germany the Reichstag fire. We have all these precedents. On another one I urge everybody to look up is Operation Northwoods. Will give you a real understanding of another historical precedent for 9/11.
Do you think
now,
if you're...
I just want to make one quick point.
Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead.
Regarding how we appeal to masses of people in New York City, I think we just have to remind ourselves of all the lies that we've been dealt with, including the stolen elections of 2000 and then 2004, and then every rationale given to invade Iraq was a lie. There's no WMD. The yellow cake from Niger was a fraud. The aluminum tubes, that was all fraud.
Wolfowitz was talking about Iraq in the 70s. In the 70s,
there you go.
Those neocons.
Within hours and days of 9/11, Wolfowitz, Rumsfeld, Cheney, Bush, Richard Pearl, they were all talking about Iraq. So then a few more of these litany of lies. The U.S. government does not engage in illegal wiretapping. Well, sorry, but that was a major lie. The U.S. Bush himself said that if he caught whoever leaked the name of the CIA agent Valerie Plame, right? That was another lie. He'd fire them. Also, Saddam Hussein in Iraq is connected to 9/11, which they implied over and over and over again.
Oh, that was a brilliant piece of PR.
As
a pollster, I just watched this happen, and I just said, you know, CBS News did a poll on it, and it was like 70% of the people thought
that Iraq was in,
Saddam Hussein. It's still 70%.
And it still hasn't
people
gone
will believe
below
what they
30%.
One thing
You know, with GIs in Iraq, it's something like 90%.
Is
That's
that
how
true?
brainwashed they
Is
are.
that
Yes.
90% think
Yes,
that
there was
he
a
was
poll
involved
done
in bringing down the towers?
In GIs in Iraq, yes.
That's why they're there.
Well, they've been under their tutelage for a long time as the military people.
Yeah. So you get the point I'm making. I'll list one more. Bush said nobody knew the levees would break in New Orleans. You know. So people, we just have to look and see how many lies are we going to stand for.
Yeah,
so,
and please stop with the incompetence. That's the other one.
Exactly.
That's the other one. Incompetence.
What's that? I don't understand.
Everything is incompetent. The reason why we got hit on 9/11 was incompetence.
Or an accident.
Accident.
Well,
nobody knew. It was a big surprise.
Well, they had war games, and he had taken over the charge of the Defense Department a couple of weeks before it happened.
Cheney,
and it could be they have these war games, and I'm really ready myself to give a whole lot of possibility for what do you call it, happenstances that happen. Do you realize, I've said these before, I think, Les, how impossible It is. If you look at the physics of the universe, that anything exists, that we exist as conscious beings taking the measure of the whole universe, that it could not be possible. It is so incomprehensibly unlikely that things had to be just so and so forth. So you want to give a lot of leeway to the fact that there may be just inconsistencies that seem impossible. They have to have some intelligent design behind them, but the things do happen that way more than we might think. I mean, so you want to keep a wide understanding of things.
Yeah, but I'm still reminded of David Ray Griffin's long list of the
defying physics.
Well, all of the possible things that were necessary for 9/11 to happen that just add up to a list that makes it impossible that the story could be true.
How about this, that it's irresponsible?
Yeah,
how about this, that it's we got a system in place. We've been here 200,000 years. We have a system in place that operates. The electricity goes on when you quit the switch.
Yeah.
Water gets to us. We have a system in place and everything like that. And then what we're doing is a systemic challenge of everything. Is there a responsibility on the part of people who want to have something, we're talking about injustice, or you could even be talking about inefficiency in a design sense, something like that. Is there a responsibility, if you're going to do something that's really going to structurally challenge in a structural way? Remember how Les Miserables was informed by the American Revolution, and the feudal system was out of date, and they made a revolution and cut off Louis XVI's head. And there was a lot of things came in. But if you have it, if you're going to challenge it fundamentally, that you really have to have an alternative. Like, what's her name, Miss Thatcher used to say, Tina. There is no alternative to the system that's in place that makes things happen, everything like that. And if you don't, you're going to challenge it fundamentally. Well, and it's coming from a lot of places. Isn't there a responsibility to have an alternative? And we don't have an alternative.
You're looking at the metaphor of Iraq,
then. We don't have an alternative.
Yeah, you're describing.
Do you think we do have an alternative?
Well, you're describing Iraq then.
No,
basically,
I'm describing.
We removed a man who was holding the country together.
Well, Nita Renfrew was a leading expert on him.
No, the alternative to what we have right now is a government that's held to the rule of law.
Rule of law can be an ass. They had a rule of law in Germany. You know, if you were in Germany in 1938 and you didn't turn in a Jew to go to Auschwitz, you were breaking the law. Or fugitive slave law in 1840. If
the
you
rule
didn't
of
turn in
law.
the slave,
that's apples and oranges.
No,
we're talking
not
the U.S.
apples and oranges.
We're talking the United States rule of law.
All right.
That's our alternative.
Flesh it out. Flesh it out.
Sure. Well, right now the government has been operating way beyond the boundaries of the rule of law.
Oh, you think they
have?
If
anything, you know, so many examples of laws that they've broken, and whether it's the wiretapping, the removal of district attorneys. And
the energy thing,
the energy policy, the secrecy around that, and as far as 9/11, here's laws that were broken for 9/11: dereliction of duty in the months leading up to 9/11, as well as the day of 9/11, destruction of evidence. The steel at Ground Zero being removed and disposed of, melted down.
It was a federal crime.
It was a felony. Also, there were tapes, FAA tapes from the flight controllers, interviews with flight controllers that were destroyed. And also, there were the crime of obstruction of justice. FBI senior officials willfully obstructed information coming up from field agents.
I know. I wasn't talking it at that level, though. Les.
No, well,
I wasn't talking it at that level.
Okay.
I'm talking
just
about
saying
where
these
you're
are
having
laws
such a
that were broken. You asked me.
I'm sorry. You're going to. But I'm not talking. I'm talking to the level above that.
Yeah.
If you're talking about something and a movement that's going to fundamentally question the whole structure by which the world society is organized, isn't it maybe, let's say, just in the evolution of consciousness or the noosphere or something like that, that there really has to be some sort of an alternative? We got a system where a few people own all the assets, they run everything, they're rich, everything's for them. Been like that since Rome, all the time. But you're going to want something that's going to really work. Don't we really have to have some sort of an alternative? Miss Thatcher said there is no alternative. There is no alternative. Tina, there's no alternative to this. And if you're going to fundamentally challenge that system, don't you think there has to be among the intellectuals or among somebody an alternative to how we're going to, an operating manual for Spaceship Earth?
If I may,
and we don't have that, and we don't provide.
You just said it very
Intellectuals
nicely.
are falling down on the job.
Spaceship Earth.
Is what I'm saying.
Again, I'm going to plug what I was saying before about David C. Corton's book, The Great Turning. I just read it, and I think it gives us a glimpse of the possibility of Earth community, of going back to a following of law that is basic to a constitution, for example.
So
our constitution is a pretty damn good document.
You think the Constitution of the United States is good? I think it's an ancient regime that's out of date. It does not provide a system. It was created in a condition that is 230 years out of date with what the future requires, and we don't have a system in place that is relevant to what the future allows or is requiring if we don't blow the whole planet up, and we're heading to blow it up. That's what I'm trying to say. And you don't want to unloose anarchy if you don't have something to fill that. Or do you think you have that responsibility?
You're making a leap here. I think you're starting a whole new conversation. That's a whole new
larger area of responsibility.
What we're saying right here, initially, first step is to create a government that must comply, is held to the same rule of law that you and I are. That through the carrying out of the process of a true 9/11 investigation, showing who was responsible, and hold them accountable. That would be a massive breakthrough for justice and for American principles, and also put us in a place of leadership in the world where we could show that, yes, the American people do aspire to the highest principles of law, of our Constitution, of the principles of our republic.
The American Constitution is a model for everybody. Is that what you're saying? I say the American Constitution is outdated.
Well,
you got to have something participatory democracy, not this nonsense we have. We have an outdated system, as outdated as Louis XVI in 1789 France.
But it doesn't
and we don't have an alternative.
It doesn't preclude. It doesn't preclude
we have weapons now.
Democracy.
What has changed that makes liberation? Let's say we're talking liberation. We're talking about a real thing, a real kind. What is different than all of history, where it's always been a few guys running everything? It's been like that. It's still that way. What's different that makes something different on the positive side that is comparable to the fact that we can blow up the whole species? Where is the vision? You got Fuller, maybe Corton, others. Where are the intellectuals? The intellectuals are falling down on the job of questioning the whole system, particularly one that will be able to, in the end, include those who are responsible for the outdated institution. You don't light a match, you don't cry fire in a loud fear, unless you've got some alternative to the chaos that could be let loose. That's all I'm saying. That's a higher responsibility. We're almost out of time.
Yeah, I have an optimistic feeling about that. I think they're waiting in the wings to see.
Wait a minute, where? Who? Where? Who's setting forth the alternative by which we're going to operate? What's different that makes it possible for us to do what we've not been able to do? Have justice and the efficiency of everybody involved in a system's liberation of the human spirit within the evolutionary universe
we've
of
had our
consciousness.
Gandhis.
Where is it?
We've had our
Gandhi?
We've had our Gandhis.
That was
but what I'm saying is
we need to get some. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm
all
for it. Give them the email again, where they go to get in touch with your initiative, because you're going to have something to stir it up.
NYC911initiative.org, NYC911initiative.org, or call 646-537-1755.
The name be Les Jamieson.
And, well, it's the 9/11 ballot initiative, NYC 9/11 initiative.
Just keep saying it over and over. That's good. That's good. Well,
and
all
we
the best.
Get things rolling here. New Yorkers deserve truth and transparency.
All right, that's right. We do all do.